y'all don't really want it like that. Yeah, here comes the.
Yo, Team Steezy family, to all the 12s out there, what is going on, y'all? How are you guys doing today? How are you guys feeling today? I know it's an afternoon. It's about 2:15 p.m. Pacific time. I don't normally go live at this time. I tend to either drop or go live later in the day. So this is a little new to me, but because I do have work sometime in the next 45 minutes, I do just want to make this short. Again, this is your host, Calvin Domingo, aka Steezy A. Smith. Thank you guys for taking the time to join me. I just wanted to talk some Pete Carroll and John Schneider, because for those of you guys that know, they had their first post-Russell Wilson press conference yesterday, and they went on for about 40 minutes before the whole thing could even start. Pete went on a little soliloquy for about 15 minutes that nobody, I don't think, really asked for. And so I was a little bit surprised and puzzled, to say the least. But I think he was out there trying to prove a point more so than anything. I think he was really trying to justify the Russell Wilson trade before it really even took place, or before reporters could even have the chance to kind of, I guess, for lack of a better term, attack him or question him in regards to his line of thinking as it pertains to the whole Russell Wilson trade. I thought they made very, very interesting comments throughout, both Pete and John. Before we get into the thick of things, though, I do just want to address some of the people in the comments. Disney Adventure Vlogs, this is from earlier today. It's all BS. Not Chief, what's going on, bro? How you doing? Jeremiah O'Brien, what's up, Steez? How you doing, Jeremiah? Thank you so much for taking the time, bro. What about Matt Corral? So about that, I'm all for, taking a Matt Corral. I would hope that it wouldn't be, you know what I mean, at 9th overall. Like, I hope it wouldn't even be in the first round altogether. And so I'm all for Seattle taking him, as long as it's, as long as there's value behind the selection, and as long as, I guess, it occurs in the second round, just not in the first. Unless if something, I don't know, barring something or unforeseen, like if his value was to just, or if his stock was to just shoot all the way up, come closer to the draft, then maybe Seattle's going to have to take him in the first round, or as early as the first round. Dizzle, let me see. Sorry, I might be saying this wrong. Dizzle Drippy, happy St. Patrick's Day. That's actually what I forgot to start the show off with. I wanted to say it is St. Patrick's Day. So happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody out there. It is March 17th. To everybody that celebrates St. Patrick's Day, thank you so much for tuning in and spending some of St. Patrick's Day with me here on the Steezy A. Smith Show. Again, this is your host, Calvin Domingo, aka Steezy A. Smith. I'm real excited to come to you guys today and kind of give some of my takeaways and some of my thoughts on the press conference. Like I said at the beginning, there was a lot of interesting comments. There were some comments that I definitely didn't agree with. There were some comments that they made in which I was just very, very puzzled, to say the least. Okay, you said my name right. Okay, Dizzle Drippy. All right, shoot, there you go. Matty Ice, Steezy, we got to get Sauce at 9, brother. That guy will be the best corner in the league, I promise you. Okay, look, I'm not trying to overhype the guy, but I have been seeing draft experts and analysts talking about how he could be the next Richard Sherman. I mean, the man is 6'3" and over 1,000 snaps across college football, never allowed a single touchdown. And so if Pete is talking about doubling down on his philosophy on the always compete mantra, I know they've kind of gotten away from, bringing in those corners that are over 6 feet tall, with super long arms, but I think Sauce Gardner will be a tremendous fit. Only problem is Seattle they've never spent more than a 3rd round draft pick on a cornerback. And I know there is a little caveat in there. There's also the fact that Seattle haven't had, very many picks in the upper half of drafts. But they just never seem to spend premium compensation on cornerbacks. And maybe some of that has to do with the fact that Pete is such a DB wizard. He thinks that he can kind of take any sort of DB from anywhere, from any program, and kind of turn him into a competent corner. And yes, he does have a little bit of a track record in regards to that. But I would love a Sauce Gardner at number 9 overall. I just don't know how likely it is. We'll see what happens, though. Maybe Seattle is looking to construct another Legion of Boom. So we'll see what happens. I think Sauce Gardner will be terrific at number 9. Jack Turner, Malik at 9, or BPS? Man, see, Malik Willis, I'm in love with Malik Willis. I think his potential His upside is very tantalizing. I think it's limitless. I think he could be the next Lamar Jackson. He might not be where Lamar Jackson was as a passer coming out of college, but yeah, he's raw. He's a project. I just don't know if Seattle is going to be the place to develop him properly. And so we'll see what happens there. Khalid Diab, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. What about Baker? Have you guys been hearing about that situation? For what I know right now, he has requested a trade officially. It has been reported about an hour ago that he has officially requested a trade out of Cleveland. I think Seattle will be a very intriguing destination. I think that a third or a fourth rounder would be enough to get a deal done. I'm not as enamored with having to pay for his next contract just because I do know that it's probably going to take more than $30+ million to lock him up on a long-term deal. But as a good friend of mine on Twitter pointed out, that's pretty much the going rate for quarterbacks nowadays, starting quarterbacks. And with the cap set to explode in the coming years, maybe $30 million isn't so much for Baker Mayfield. I mean, he has had 2 good years in the NFL, coupled with a couple of bad years. But last year, he did play with the torn labrum. And I told this to a couple of my friends from earlier, but a torn labrum is no joke. My pops actually had surgery on a torn labrum a couple of years ago, and he could barely raise his arms above his chest. And so that's definitely not that's definitely not no joke. It's not nothing to play around with. And so we'll see what happens. You know, I think Baker Mayfield, he'd be playing with the best set of weapons he's ever had in his career if he were to come to Seattle with the Noah Fant, DK Metcalf, a Todd Lockett. Maybe the offensive line isn't on par with Cleveland's. Maybe the ground game isn't on par with Cleveland's. Maybe the defense isn't on par with Cleveland's. Maybe even the head coach's staff isn't on par with Cleveland's. But as far as weaponry, as far as receivers, talent at wide receiver, at the skill positions, Seattle definitely would provide him with the best set of weapons he's ever had. My guy Larry, what's going on, bro? Thank you so much for tuning in. Yeah, my brother. Shoot, I won't be seeing you at work later today, but thanks for stopping by. Malik look good though. He definitely does. We need Sauce at 9. What about Corral at 41? Oh yeah, I think that'd be tremendous value at 41. Jeremiah O'Brien, he is an animal. Yes, Brandon F. Let's get Mayfield. Not Chief. Yo, Steezy, would you like if Seattle drafted Jordan Davis? I would love this. That's because I'm from Georgia. Hey, bro, all I want to say is I'm all for Seattle taking the best player available that's on the board. And I don't care what position that is. Maybe there are a couple of positions that I want Seattle to refrain from taking, but as long as the value is there, I wouldn't mind because I think at the end of the day, Seattle just needs a massive talent infusion. And so whether that's at this position or that position or that position, I don't think Seattle could go wrong. Michael in the comments says Baker is trash. Look, bro, Baker, he's not the best quarterback in the game. He's not a top 10 quarterback in the game, but I promise you, he's an above average starter in the National Football League. Let's not forget, we are talking about a man who won Heisman, you know, in his last year in college, who went number 1 overall in the draft, who did break the initial rookie record for touchdown passes in the season, which Justin Herbert has since broken with 31. And so Baker's not trash. You know, I think he has to have the perfect situation around him for him to really succeed and to optimize his production and his potential, but he's not trash, not by any means. Jacob Kessler, Cleveland already said they're not trading Baker. Well, they're not going to go out and say, oh, yeah, he asked for a trade. We're going to look to trade him ASAP. I don't think that's good business. That's definitely bad business in my eyes. And so I think they're trying to play it cool. You know, Baker has talked about burnt bridges. And so we'll see what happens there. Strong in the third if that knee healthy. Carson Strong. And my brother Squabo has alluded to Carson Strong and how he could be a strong fit, no pun intended, for this offense. And so if Seattle is able to get value in the later rounds like they did with the Russell Wilson, I'm all for it. How you feel about maybe Trent Brown going to Seattle? Bro, I would love Trent Brown in Seattle. I don't know if you caught me on the live stream the other day when I was talking to Deshaun Watson rejecting the Seahawks, but one of my free agent targets for Seattle was Trent Brown. I know he's excelled in New England and in New England only. He hasn't exactly excelled in destinations outside of New England. But if Seattle is hell-bent, if Pete Carroll is hell-bent on sticking to his philosophy, which is ground and pound, running the football, playing it with defense, special teams, ball control, you know, no turnovers, big plays, then yes, Trent Brown would be perfect. He's a behemoth of a human being. We're talking about a guy who's 6'8", 300+ pounds. We have an opening. There's a vacant opening, or there's a vacant spot on the right tackle side of the offensive line. And so I think Trent Brown will be a tremendous fit. He excels as a run blocker. He's a run mauler. Now, there's definitely some work to be done in pass protection as far as technique, but I think he can hold his own. Baker is not trashy. He's definitely a better option than Drew Lock. No doubt. I agree with that 100%. Big Hoos. I think Drew Lock has a better chance than Baker. You have to remember Baker has a problem not throwing to wide open receivers. Okay, again, look, Baker is not trash. I know him and OBJ didn't exactly get along, but y'all, I don't think he's nearly as bad as people say he is. It just didn't work out with OBJ, but that doesn't mean that's what's going to happen with other receivers. Forgive me if I'm butchering this, but is it Adam Can? It sounds a lot like it's tankier without Pete and John saying it's tankier. Agreed. Robert Stevens, how you doing, bro? Thank you so much for joining us. Jeff Malcolm Rodriguez, linebacker from Oklahoma State. Hey, you know your guys from over there, so I trust that. Michael Brandon, it would actually be better if we start Lock over Baker. A quarterback, no one to talk about Sam Howell. He seems to fit the Seattle offense the most out of all the quarterback prospects. Plus, he's similar to Josh Allen. When are you getting on NordCam? I can't wait for the next roundtable. You know, it's been a while, bro. We don't have anything in the works at the moment, but bro, we always keep in touch. And so who knows? We can hop on a live this weekend. Norm's actually going to hop on my channel, hopefully sometime soon. I do have something in the works. And so you guys can expect to see NordCam on the Steezy A. Smith channel. Have you seen Lock play out, Michael? CG, what's going on, Brody? Thanks for joining us in the house. Donnie Pearson. Donnie, how are you? Happy St. Patrick's Day. I hope you're doing wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to join us for this Seahawks discussion. How do you feel about this O-line? Right now, I don't feel very good. Yes, Seattle was expected to visit Trent Brown today, sometime today, if that hasn't already transpired. We have yet to re-sign Dwayne Brown. We did bring in an Austin Blythe, and I do plan on dropping a free agent segment sometime, hopefully this weekend. Austin Blythe, I love. He's definitely a fit, I think, for the offense. He played under Shane Waldron. Last time he was with the Rams as a starter. I don't know how much stock you guys put into Pro Football Focus, but he was ranked as the 9th best center in the National Football League. And so he's definitely an above average starter, I feel like. And he was a backup in Kansas City last year, but that's because of the man in front of him. I mean, Creed Humphrey was an all-pro. He was arguably the best center in football last year. So that's not necessarily a terrible distinction by any means. Josh, where's your green at? You know, hey, I'm so sorry. I actually had a green shirt, and I was thinking about wearing it. I probably can't still put it on. I mean, damn it. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. But there's a little bit of green, you know, over here. And then if I were to pop up some of the there's some green right here. I hope that's enough to suffice. I apologize, though, y'all. But happy St. Patrick's Day yet again. I'm going to read a couple more of the comments before I actually get into some of the things that I wanted to talk about. Where's the green at, Steezy? I think I need a drink for the show today. It's going to be deep. Lori, yes. Yes. Thank God for Blythe. Yes. I hope the offense, I mean, as far as the offensive line goes, I hope we don't stop. You know, I hope we target some guys both in the draft, and there's still some guys out there in free agency. So I hope we do that. Al Woods, yes. When does free agency end? And will you drop a mock draft when the time comes? Oh, no doubt. I'm actually going to have a live stream or two with a couple of guests on. Mock drafts will be coming soon. Free agency has just started, and there really isn't an end to it, honestly. Now that it's begun, it's going to take place all throughout the year, all throughout the summer. Brandon, he doesn't want to wait in the press conference. He wants to win right now. That is what he said. I'm doing amazing. I'm redoing my recreation of the Soldiers song, the Irish national anthem, while viewing this live stream of yours. Donnie, well, thank you. I know you're busy, and so for you to do that means a lot to me. So thank you. Thoughts on Noah Fant? We'll actually touch on that Dizzle Drippy a little bit later because that isn't some of my takeaways. Adam Con-Air. Okay, Con-Air. Thanks, bro. Do you think our new DC is a long-term replacement or more so a placeholder? Oh, I think he's definitely a long-term replacement. I think with Clint Hurtt, he brings a lot of feistiness. I think he's somebody that the players can relate to. He used to play a defensive tackle. You know, he used to play for a long time. And so I definitely I believe in Clint Hurtt. I think he's more than just a placeholder. I definitely think that he can get the most out of this defense. You know, he wants to be more aggressive. He wants to get after the quarterback. He wants to generate more takeaways. And so I like what he's bringing to the table so far. I like the energy, and who knows, maybe he could take over as head coach when inevitably Pete Carroll decides to step away from the game. Not getting anywhere with Locke. My guy, RP, bro, what's going on, bro? Thanks for taking the time to join us on your busy day. You think we should get Sauce Gardner? I know Hawks don't like drafting corners early, but still, you know, yes, like I said earlier, bro, we have not spent any sort of premium compensation or capital on any cornerbacks, any significant compensation at least. But I feel like with Sauce Gardner, who knows? Maybe Seattle's looking to recreate the Legion of Boom. And so you have a Trey Brown, you have a Sidney Jones, you take a Sauce Gardner at number 9 overall, and then you start to build elsewhere around the football team. This is a draft class that's deep on the offensive line, on the defensive line, in the secondary. And so Seattle wants to prioritize cornerback and then address the interiors of both lines later in the draft. They can most definitely do that. And I think Sauce Gardner, I'm not saying he's a transcendent talent at cornerback, but I think he's easily the best cornerback in this class, and Seattle still has a need at cornerback. And if they're going to justify letting a DJ Reed go, who I was very pissed about because that's one of my favorite players, one of the more underrated players at the cornerback position, they're going to have to do so by taking a Sauce Gardner. And so I really hope they do take him, and it'll be a pick well spent. So what do you think, Steezy? Do you think we can go to the Super Bowl this year? Not this year. Barring something unforeseen, not this year. Allen Robinson to the Rams. Well, talk about the rich getting richer. If they bring back an OBJ, it's going to be really, really hard to stop that offense. But I think that a team coming out of the AFC is going to win the Super Bowl this year. We'll touch on that later on. But the Rams are definitely looking scary. I can't lie. This has to be the most athletic class I've seen in a while. No doubt. I mean, some of these guys at the Combine are putting up earth-shattering type of numbers. I mean, my goodness. You get Baker and then hope for a good season, right? I hate the Hollywood Rams. Hey, my guy Bogart, what's going on, Brody? Thank you so much for tuning in, bro. Always great points, Steve. Appreciate you, IP. We're not going to the Super Bowl anytime soon. I agree. Hey, you guys, if you guys can give me just 30 seconds, I'm going to leave out this little layout. If you guys wanted to take a look at the thumbnail, I actually kind of like the thumbnail. Shout out my manager, shout out my behind-the-scenes guy, the do-it-all man behind the scenes, Josiah Turler. I thought this was a fire thumbnail. Hold on, if I could kind of point this out real quick. Give me just a second, though. I'll be right back. All right, y'all, I'm back. Sorry about that. Had to handle a couple of things real quick. You already know my brother. All right. Okay. Let's get into it real quick. I want to touch on some of my takeaways. I'll still address you guys in the comments, so definitely drop your comments. But I want to know, or while I'm giving out my thoughts, my takeaways, if you guys could drop some of your takeaways, some of your comments about Pete and John's first post-Russ press conference from yesterday, please do so. And then as soon as I'm done talking about some of my takeaways, I'll definitely be sure to touch on some of your guys's. So for me, takeaway number 1, as I mentioned, Pete Carroll, he started this whole thing off with the 15-minute soliloquy emphasizing second chances. He talked about Quandre Diggs and how they've given Jamal Adams beast mode, Darrell Taylor, even at Russ, even how Russ is looking for his second opportunity, second chance in the NFL. It might not be with our Seattle Seahawks, but he definitely put such a huge emphasis on second chances. And in a way, Pete and John, they're getting their own second chance, honestly, because look, like a reporter did bring up in the press conference, 1 playoff victory since 2016. And this is my least favorite stat. You guys have probably heard it from me a countless number of times. But the Jacksonville Jaguars, arguably the worst team in football, they have a better playoff record since 2017 than the Seattle Seahawks. They have 2 playoff wins to R1 in that same span. And so you know how they always say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, if it is broke, please fix it. And I think it's Seattle, it has been partially broken these last 4 to 5 years. Yes. Yeah, I want to give Pete and John the benefit of the doubt. I do want to give them a second chance. But 1 playoff victory. Aren't they always talking about how the NFL is all about results, right? What have you done for me lately? Well, they have done for us. What they have given to us lately is 1 playoff victory. 1 in the last 5 to 6 years. And that was with an elite quarterback. That was with a franchise quarterback. And so to me, that kind of tells me, yes, the relationship was I know they weren't saying it was fractured. They were talking about how Russ wanted an opportunity to kind of go to a different team because he's seen so many other guys do it, both in the NBA, across the NFL, in baseball. I don't buy that entirely. There was definitely somewhat of a rift in the relationship because Russ wanted to do this, Pete wanted to do this. And so they didn't exactly see eye to eye. But what I mean by no, let's just not say that it's broken. It's not broken, but I just don't think that Pete and John, they're not able to work with such, for lack of a better term, a high maintenance guy at the quarterback position in a Russell Wilson. Yes, he's elite. Yes, he's still top 5 in my eyes. But with the way that Pete and John want to do things, that just wasn't going to work out, especially when you tack on the fact that Russell Wilson reportedly wanted Patrick Mahomes type money as early as next year. And if you guys heard, John was under the impression, the Seahawks front office was under the impression that there wasn't going to be an extension hammered out, from both sides. And so that's why it was that's one of the reasons why it was kind of time to go. But like I said, going back to my first takeaway, second chances. All eyes, like I said in the title of this video, all eyes are on Pete and John. Yes, they're telling the world, they're telling all of us fans that, Seattle is trying to go for it all this year, that this is not a rebuild, that they believe in Drew Lock, and, even them themselves are getting second chances of their own. I don't know. Are you guys willing to give them the benefit of the doubt? I know there's been this reputation that Seattle hasn't necessarily done very well in the draft, I think, since 2016. And credit to Dan Orlovsky of ESPN. Since 2016, out of the 50-plus players that Seattle has drafted, only 3 of them have become Pro Bowlers. And one of them was a punter, and Michael Dixon. And so we're talking about Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. I know Jordan Brooks is looking to be a very nice player. Cody Barton, I have high hopes for him. Trent Brown, I think he's going to be a tremendous cornerback in the National Football League. Jamal Adams, he's still somewhat young. Darrell Taylor, I think he's going to be a monster. I think he's going to be a star as early as next year. And so there's definitely some talent to believe in. There's definitely some guys to work with, definitely some foundational pieces with which to work with. DJ Reed could have been one of them. But look, yeah, all eyes are really on these two guys. They're trying to tell the entire world that they're not rebuilding, but in a way, they're also kind of rebuilding because you have an unknown at quarterback. You have plenty of draft picks. They haven't spent a whole lot of money in free agency. And so to me, this looks like they're rebuilding. What do y'all think? Let me run through some of the comments real quick and see what you guys are saying. So your plans to get Baker and just hope our 25 ranked O-line doesn't kill him. Well, look, there's still moves to be made at the offensive line spot or at some of the positions on the offensive line. And so I don't think that has been solidified just yet. My guy Bogart is asking, will Baker Mayfield and the Browns bridge burn? Would you think Seattle could look at Baker in a trade? No doubt. I feel like as long as compensation is somewhere along the lines of a mid-round pick, maybe a late day 2 pick, like a third rounder, maybe even a fourth rounder, gets it done, just because I feel like Cleveland, with Baker requesting a trade, they don't have as much leverage, on their hands. And so we'll see what that looks like. But I wouldn't mind Baker in Seattle. I mean, he's been an underdog his whole life. He's walked on a couple of times. He's been somebody that nobody believed in, and he's done some tremendous things. Believe it or not, he's done some tremendous things both in college and in the National Football League. I know he gets a bad rep, but come on, y'all. Let's be a little more patient. These quarterbacks, they come at a premium, and so he's definitely average at the very worst. Okay, Donnie, okay. Record scratch. If we can't win with Russ behind that O-line, what makes you think we can win with Baker? Well, oh my gosh, this has Steezy. Hold on. Hey, my guy Aaron, what's good, Brody? Thank you for tuning in, my brother. Shoot, how you feeling, bro? But going back to what I was saying, who said that? Oh, Michael. Okay, if we can't win with Russ behind that O-line, what makes you think we can win with Baker? So I was never one to bring up Russ's cap number and how that kind of stopped us from spending at other positions. That wasn't me. I didn't subscribe to that notion necessarily because you need a franchise quarterback, above all. But with Baker Mayfield, let's say hypothetically, right? Let's say theoretically he gets traded to Seattle. We're not going to be paying him, Russell Wilson money. And so we'll have money. We'll have draft picks. We'll have assets to build an even better offensive line. I know the irony is it's crazy, because as soon as he leaves, then it's like, then we devote resources to the offensive line. That is crazy to think about. But with the money that's left over, with the draft picks now, in Seattle's possession, that's how they're going to be able to build an even better offensive line. Either way, it won't matter because Cleveland's not letting them go. So then we would have no choice to start lock and go with their plan. that press conference was low-key hard to watch. I'm not gonna lie, I watched the entirety of it, and yeah, I mean, like I said, the soliloquy at the beginning, that was a little puzzling. I was definitely just, it seemed to me like Pete and John, they were trying to justify the decision to trade Russ before reporters even asked about it. It's like they wanted the first crack at it. They wanted to let the people know that, yo, you know, we have a lot of conviction behind what we just did, just because, yes, that's not a very popular move amongst the fan base. And so they went out of their way a little bit to kind of really let that be known that, yo, you know, second chances, and, you know, it was a second opportunity for Russ to go out and do whatever he wanted. Jody Allen, Pete Carroll, and John Schneider, they also made a point, or they wanted to emphasize the fact that Russ was the one who wanted out. Now, Russ did deny that in his own press conference. Did any of y'all watch that press conference? Because I definitely took some note. I definitely was able to kind of tune in a little bit. And yeah, I mean, he was very cordial about it, more so than, both sides were. I'm tripping. Let me not say that. University of Cincinnati cornerback Sauce. Oh, yeah, no doubt. What was your thoughts on the cap situation and Tyler working with him, but Pete? Okay, so for me, I was a little puzzled because Pete brings up a Colin Kaepernick. He's talking about second chances and how he thinks that Colin Kaepernick deserves a second chance. But then he says that, I don't know if that's going to be with us. I don't even know if that's going to be in football. And so I get that he's trying to prove a point. And he even said that he wasn't trying to send mixed messages or mixed signals. But why even bring up Colin Kaepernick anyway? I mean, I know he prefaced by saying that I know you guys are going to bring him up. And so that's probably why he brought him up. But to say that he deserves a second shot, but it might not be here, that just does, I don't know. It doesn't really ring. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. Colin Kaepernick, Drew Lock, and Jacob Eason. Yeah. Yeah, that's match the philosophy. I guess. Baker and Russ actually had the same base salary. Well, Russ's base salary, actually, it goes down because he was traded to Denver. Look, Seattle's taking $26 million in dead money this year. And so that's actually one of the reasons why Denver doesn't have to pay as much for Russell Wilson, because Seattle was having to pay that much in dead money. My guy, Anish, hey, how you doing, bro? Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. Question: how confident are you Pete and John can rebuild this team quick like they did last time? Pete and John came in 2010. Rebuild took them 2 years, though we were really rebuilding from 2008 to 2011. Keep up the great work, bro. Hey, thank you so much, bro. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. I think for me, that's a hard question to answer, you know, and I hate to take the easy way out, but when you look at the 2012 draft, when you look at some of those drafts in which they really hit on guys, you got to catch lightning in a bottle. You know, the draft is the ultimate crapshoot. And so you can't guarantee that they're going to have draft classes equivalent to what they did in 2012, 2011, 2010, in which they were uncovering all these hidden gems. Even the undrafted guys were getting love. Do you guys remember Doug Baldwin? He was undrafted out of Stanford. He wasn't drafted. He wasn't drafted in the 7th round. Cam Chancellor in the 5th round. Richard Sherman in the 5th round. And so it's really hard to say. You know, you really have to catch lightning in a bottle twice. You really have to hit. It's hard to really rely on that, especially when you're not aggressive in free agency. Like, they're talking about how they want to win now, but there's still guys in free agency that you could bring on board. You know, there's not a whole bunch of old guys out there, and it's like, oh yeah, there's only older guys in free agency. There's no young guys out there that you can kind of bring in to help rebuild along with the rest of the guys. There's some younger players out there. And so if Seattle was truly intent on being aggressive and trying to win a Super Bowl now, I don't see why they wouldn't be more aggressive in free agency. Now, I know that's not their MO, and so I'm not saying for them to go against that, especially when Pete just talked about his philosophy and how they want to emphasize that. But what I am saying is that P has also talked about how he wants to bring more stars on board, how they need to bring in more talent. When you look at some of these teams that are winning Super Bowls, the Rams, for example, you see how aggressive they are? They just won the Super Bowl. They already have a stacked receiving corps, and they bring in an Allen Robinson. The rich get richer. See, that's the sort of move that Seattle needs to go out and do. Once they get a quarterback, you need to be aggressive, and we're not seeing that right now. So I don't know what the direction really is, and I don't know, and I can't say definitively when this rebuild is going to be over. I do know that it's going to take a whole lot of luck for Seattle to be able to hit on draft picks like that, especially when they go away from everybody's draft boards. They draft very unconventionally, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That definitely has worked out in their favor in the past, but nothing in the last 3, 4, 5 years has really inspired confidence in me. I don't know about you guys, but I haven't really been inspired in the last couple of years. I know the 2020 draft, we brought in, some pieces. We brought in pieces, but aside from that, I just don't know if I really have any sort of confidence. But I guess we'll see. Only time will tell. Let's say Jack Turner, what's going on, my man? Let's say John and Pete can't get it done. Where do you think we go? That's a very loaded question. That's a very heavy question. I think if I really just had to come up with an answer off the top of my head, I think, man, Pete retires. I think John is willing to stay on board and kind of start over, start fresh. But I think Pete will retire if they can't get it done. Facts. How you doing, Jody? Thanks for taking the time to join us, bro. You make some good points, too. I would try and recreate what we did in 2012. But again, like I said, a lot of luck is going to have to be involved if you want to recreate what you did back in 2012. Like, who's to say that there's going to be a Russell Wilson in the 3rd round? Who's to say that a Bobby Wagner is going to fall in the 2nd round? Who's to say that a Richard Sherman is going to fall in the 5th round? We don't know that yet. And so I'm not going to put all my eggs in that basket. You know what I mean? I'd like for Seattle to be aggressive, not just in free agency, but also in the trade market. Brandon, okay. James Watson, love this channel. Let's get Baker. James Watson, thank you so much for tuning in, bro. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. Thank you. David Burnell, it's one thing to rebuild. It's a completely different thing to dismantle all the foundations. Exactly. And I know that he's on the lower end of the spectrum, but a DJ Reed, for example, only 25 years old, one of the more underrated corners in football last year, and you let him go? $11 million might seem exorbitant. I know, and I understand. But Pro Football Focus ranked this guy as the eighth best cornerback in the National Football League last year. And so we're not talking about a scrub. We're talking about a guy who's 25, who plays a premium position, whose best football is in front of him. And Seattle decides to let him go. Seattle had a ton of cap space. Like, okay, $11 million might seem like a lot to you guys, but what else is Seattle going to do with that cap space? They're not bringing guys on via free agency. So what's the point of hoarding all that cap space if you're not going to use it? I don't get it. Our best sign this offseason was Quandre Diggs. No doubt. Hey, Will Disley was a massive overpay, but bringing back Al Woods, bringing back Sidney Jones, bringing back Quandre Diggs, I thought those were all terrific and phenomenal re-signings. Definitely drop some of your guys' comments below as to what you guys would grade some of those re-signings. I definitely love some of those moves. Hope this penny extension comes quick and wonder how the market for him is to. Yeah, I think that right now it's not looking great for running backs, especially injury-prone running backs. And so I think hopefully within the next week or two, we definitely bring him back on a team-friendly deal. Are we even starting Chris Carson anymore? That's hard to tell. I think he's still kind of recovering from his neck injury. But I think if he's healthy, he'll be there because Seattle doesn't save a lot of cap space by cutting him or trading him. So it's better to just keep him on a roster. Matty Ice, it's very simple. Sauce Gardner gives a similar secondary to what we had in 2012. Next year, we draft Stroud or Bryce Young. Agree. But if Seattle's in love with the Malik Willis, I wouldn't be opposed to that either. Let me see. Remember, Russ is great. I'm not saying he's not, but we won that Super Bowl because of our defense. Russ wasn't making no spectacular plays. He was playing management football. Defense wins. I can't agree with that 100% because he was making a whole bunch of clutch plays. He was pushing the ball down the field. He was making magic with his arm with some of those game-winning drives. And so you definitely still need more than a game manager at quarterback if you want to win Super Bowls and if you want to win them consistently. I expect that we will draft a quarterback. I think Pete is looking for coachable players. In my opinion, that means young, fresh off the boat players. Yeah, I mean, at least with the rookie under team control and a guy that's just now coming into the league, they definitely would have more, I guess, for lack of a better term, control over a rookie. And it's easier to kind of mold them and shape them into your philosophy and into what you want to do. That's a very valid point. I saw on Instagram that DJ Reed did terrible against wide receiver ones until he switched to the right side. He's actually locked up wide receiver ones in the past before. He held his own against Devontae Adams in his first season with Seattle against Terry McLaurin. He held him to 2 catches on 7 targets, 7 yards. I think it was 5 targets for 7 yards, excuse me. And so he's not a lockdown sort of guy. I'm not saying he's better than any of the All-Pros from last year, but I'm just saying he's definitely a guy that flies under the radar, can play both on the outside and the inside, is very physical. He excels in run support. He's a hard hitter. He does a lot of the dirty work, and I think his energy is contagious. And so that was one of my reasons for keeping him. Jacob Kessinger, Uchenna Nwosu was a great signing. Like I said, I will drop a Seahawks reaction video, maybe a live stream to all of our free agent signings. But yeah, coming over from the Chargers, I mean, he placed 15th, or he was 15th in the NFL last year in pressure percentage. And I think it was just a shade under 13%. He only had 5 sacks, but he's like a Jadeveon Clowney. You know, he's getting after the quarterback. He's pressuring the quarterback. He's getting these quarterback hits, and it might not always end in sacks, but I think he's still a young player. And I think that's evident by the fact that Pete and John gave him the highest average annual salary in their entire time together to an outside free agent, and that's $10 million. A 2-year, $20 million contract, $10 million. I don't know if that's the cap hit, but that's the year one number. And so for them to give him that much money, I think there's definitely a lot that they like about him. He still has untapped potential. Last time I checked, he's like, 25, 26 years old. And so terrific signing. I will break that down sometime this weekend. Willis going to be the next Haskins, especially if a team gets him early and gives him all that money. You know, I would hope not. It's just not about the Super Bowl. He led us there. Do y'all remember the championship game? He was so clutch. Exactly my point. Any sleeper players you like in the drafts? I hate to avoid your question fully, Rue, but I will be dropping a draft special on my channel, and I will touch on that segment. But because this is about the Pete and John press conference, I do want to try to keep it there. Sleeper players, I mean, there's going to be a whole bunch of guys that I have, and so I don't want to turn this into a draft segment. I apologize for that, but definitely I could touch on a few players. Like I said, I don't know if he'd be considered a sleeper, but like I said, man, I'm in love with the Malik Willis. I think of Malik Willis, if developed properly, if, you know, under the proper guidance, he could, oh my gosh. The upside, like I said, is very tantalizing. As far as receivers go, I really do like, he wouldn't even be considered a sleeper, but based on where he's probably going to go in the draft, I think of Jameson Williams. Yes, he's coming off a torn ACL, but with such an advancement in sports technology and sports medicine, that's not the death sentence that it once was. And so whatever team lands him, probably in the late teens, in the 20s, I think that he's going to be quantified as a sleeper just because of where he's going. But I think Jameson Williams could definitely excel in the NFL. I believe that. I still can't believe you were right about the Liz jersey thing you said about Russ. Yeah, I was actually at Liz yesterday, and now his jersey's 50% off. Bobby Wagner jerseys are also 50% off. I never had a Bobby jersey, and so I might have to take advantage of that and get a Bobby Wagner jersey 50% off. Same with Russ. I already have a Russ jersey, but there are a couple of other colors that I didn't previously have. And so, yeah, I desperately wanted to be wrong. I hope that I was wrong, not Chief, but man, I ended up being right. You fell in love with Willis. Do you think our fans will boo Russ when Broncos playing Lumen? You know, this is a tough question because half of the fans that I've interacted with are still rooting and supporting a Russell Wilson, but then the other half now hate him. Now look at him as enemy number one. And so it's real hard. I don't know, but if you ask me, I'm still going to be rooting for Russ. And hate me all you guys want, but don't be surprised if you see me rocking a bright orange Russell Wilson Broncos jersey, because I'm still a Russ fan through and through. I'm always going to be a Seahawks fan first, of course, but we're probably not going to have a horse in the race when it comes to playoff time next year. And so I'm going to be rooting for his success. See also linked to Chad Muma, second round linebacker. Hey, I wouldn't be opposed to that. He is enemy number one. But why, y'all? Look, the reason why the divorce even happened in the first place was because both sides had their own faults. Russ had his faults, and the front office management, Pete Carroll also, they all had their faults. This wasn't just a single or a one-sided divorce. It wasn't just, oh, Russ wanted out. Okay, get out of here. You know, we'll trade you. It wasn't just that. It wasn't just the Seahawks front office was like, oh, the business opportunity came up. Let's trade him. No, both sides played a role in the divorce. Thoughts on switching to 3-4? I like the bear front last year. Feels like a good move. As long as guys who aren't comfortable dropping back in coverage aren't doing that all the time. Like, that's one of the reasons why Carlos Dunlap wanted out of Cincinnati, because they dropped him back in coverage way too much. You got to you got to allow these guys to play to their strengths. And so if we acquire more 3-4 type of guys, Uchenna and Wosu, I apologize if I'm butchering his name. He played in the 3-4 last year, if I'm not mistaken. And so, yeah, Abi, I like the 3-4 switch. We've actually have gone to a 3-4 base a couple years ago. We didn't, that wasn't our base defense, so we didn't trot that defense out enough, but we started, trotting out 3-4 a couple of years ago. It's now we're going to make it a super prevalent. We're going to make it, the base package. And so it's a great move as long as we bring in the right pieces. I will say that. I'm supporting Russ, but I do hope they do trash this year so we get a good pick next year. I wouldn't bank on it, but that's definitely something to root for. I don't pray on his downfall, but I will root for another team. I never miss. Thank you for tuning in, bro. Because he lied to us. He bucked up with us. He said he wanted to win more Super Bowls with us. But Pete and John also said that they didn't have any intentions of trading him. Now I know I know that it means what it states, but in a way, Pete and John also kind of lied to us. And so it wasn't just Russ, it was also Pete and John. And that's why I think all sides are to blame. I want Russ to suck this year so we can get a better pick after this year. I will root for him. That's a great point, because maybe he doesn't win a Super Bowl and you're win anyway. So I'm with that. Ken Norton dropping defensive ends in coverage is gone. Yeah, I mean, Clint Hurd even said that he's not going to do that as often. But, the outside linebackers, the defensive ends, they are going to be required to do that in a 3-4 base. And so that's why I'm saying that if we bring in guys that fit a 3-4, I wouldn't be opposed to it. What do you think Bobby is signing? I wouldn't be surprised if he signs with like the Rams or the Chargers. He is from LA. And so I think he definitely want to return home. But I also see him sticking it to Seattle just because of how they disrespected him on his way out the door. They all lied to exactly. I never missed. There you go. Let the people know. They all lied to us. Ralphie Davis, how you doing, bro? Who do you think we should grab with the 40 and 41st pick? Okay, so if we don't take a quarterback, if we don't take a Malik Willis or anything like that in the first round, I think with the 40 or 41st overall pick, I'm all for taking a Matt Corral if he's still on the board. I would love to do that. I feel like I don't know. I'm not, and I apologize, y'all. I'm not as in tune with all the later round offensive linemen, but I would love for us to address offensive line. With one of our 2 second-round picks, quarterback and offensive line. That's where I would go. And then in the first round, I would take either a Sauce Gardner or a Kayvon Thibodeau. So I'm going defense in the first round, and then in the second round, I'm going quarterback and offensive line. Life and Sports Talk with Jake. How you doing, bro? Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Hope Brown can get signed. Dwayne Brown? I wouldn't be opposed to that. I just feel like with Dwayne Brown, he's getting older, and I would love to start building up the future of the position. I think a Charles Cross could be another guy, left tackle from Texas A&M. I think he could be another option at number 9 overall. If there's no more Kayvon, if there's no more Sauce. And so I think depending on what we do in the draft, maybe he comes back. We need another wideout. Look at the Bengals. Look at all these teams with trios. We need a trio. Well, we did spend significant capital on one last year in D Eskridge. I still think that he has a lot of potential. I still think that he can be more than just a gadget player in this league. And who knows, maybe we dip into the free agent pool. Maybe we dip into the later rounds to get some more depth at receiver. But Matty, I agree with you. We definitely need some more depth at wide receiver, especially if we're going to bring in an inexperienced quarterback. He's going to need as many weapons as he possibly could get. All I can say is this: the guy you talked to months ago was right when he told you the reason Russ jerseys were marked down is because he would be traded. Well, he didn't say that verbatim, but kind of alluded to that. Yeah, but he's 37 exactly. Deshaun to Atlanta. Wait, is that true? Trent. Oh, you talking about? Oh, okay. He's talking about Trent Brown. Oh, yeah. No, I said it earlier in the show. I'm all for that. Especially if Pete wants to double down on running the football. Trent Brown is your guy, right tackle. Yes. The GMM network. Hey, y'all, please, if any of y'all play fantasy football out there, please subscribe to my brother right here at the GMM network. Do you think Russell Wilson enjoys Sierra's music? That's a hilarious question, by the way. But please subscribe, follow him, all that good stuff. Man, he's one of the fantasy OGs out there. He knows his stuff. He's not just a fantasy football guy, of course. He's I'm not even going. I'll say he's a 49ers fan, but he's one of the coolest 49er fans that I know. So please give my man a follow, man. Show him some love. He be doing his Dougie. He be putting in that work each and every single day. So let's get him recognized for that, man. Who's lining up next to Jordan Brooks and taking Wagner's spot? He's already on the roster. Cody Barton. Deshaun Watson is a Falcon confirmed. Hey, hold on, y'all. I'm not saying I don't believe you, but I gotta verify. Hold on. Yeah, just a second. All right, I looked up Deshaun Watson. I ain't seen anything official yet. But look, I also wanted to touch on my second takeaway. Seattle's not rebuilding. Actually, I probably already kind of have, but I do just want to add. There were some quotes here that I wanted to kind of share with you guys. So in the beginning, he was referring to a talk that he had with legendary UCLA basketball coach John Wooden. Your philosophy is what it is. You either believe in it or you don't. It's important to make a statement here. We've been here a long time. It's about competing. Okay. This is a great place for guys to come. It's also a difficult place to leave. I agree. We look at this just as every other year. We're trying to build a freaking championship football team right now. There's no future. We'll do it somewhere down the road. We don't think like that. It's not who we are. Okay. So they're not rebuilding, but they're trying to build through the draft with all this draft capital. Sounds to me like they're rebuilding. But it also sounds to me like they're expecting to capture some of that magic that they caught from all those years back. And I just don't know if that's the most sustainable way to go about. Maybe they're not so think outside the box this draft around. But I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, I would hope for just a 1 or 2 year rebuild, especially in the case of a Pete Carroll. He is only getting older, and so we'll see what happens in that regard. And just to touch on the Russ trade, they were talking about how it wasn't about relationship; it was about opportunity. And Russ wanted another opportunity because he's seen it happen around the NFL with Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford. He's seen it. Obviously, you see it's super prevalent in the NBA. See it in baseball now. And John also said that I would say the odds weren't high in trading Russ. I don't know how much stock to put into that, but I don't buy it. Oh, I forgot to even mention this. I also kind of found it funny because there were numerous times throughout the press conference in which Pete and John kept bringing up the Jamal Adams trade and how, when they traded for him 2 COVID years or whatnot. It's almost as if they want to continue to justify to the people that their trade for Jamal Adams wasn't as bad as it seems because of COVID, right? And okay, that's a legitimate excuse to make, but at the same time, 2 first rounders, a 3rd round pick, a starting safety for a box safety, for a downhill type of safety. And again, I'm not saying Jamal can't cover. I think he's better in that regard than people would like to give him credit for. But he's not the ideal, long range safety. If you want to, throw him out there on the back end, if you want to play cover 3, he's not a cover 3 type of safety. At least I don't think that's what optimizes his skill set. And so Seattle's just going to have to use him differently. I mean, if they want to keep trying to justify that trade, use him to his strengths. Clint Hurt, I believe in him doing that. I do got to go here in the next couple of minutes, y'all. I'm sorry I got to cut this short. But last takeaway, Drew Lock, QB1. They kept alluding to it. They believe in Drew Lock. They had him on their draft boards. Even John Schneider said that a lot of his GM buddies or his buddies across the league have been trying to trade for Drew Lock since last spring. I don't know if I buy that either. But it seems to me like Drew Lock is going to be the guy. And he's definitely going to take part in the competition, of course. He's not just going to be handed the starting job. But it sounds to me like Drew Lock is going to be that guy. And I'm not trying to defend him, but there's still a little bit of untapped potential there, right? Yes, he lost his starting job to to Teddy Bridgewater last year. But I don't think he's really been given enough of a chance or enough chances. And I just feel like he's had I don't know. It hasn't always been the best situation in Denver. He has the best set of weapons he'll ever have in Seattle with the DK, a Tyler, and then yes again Noah Fant. But like I said, I don't think Seattle's done with adding pass catchers. They're gonna want to they're gonna want to make their next quarterback look good, and so you want to continue to add to the weaponry around that. I'm from Georgia. My Falcon fan friends are going crazy. They didn't just bring out the wrecking ball. They brought the wrecking ball with spikes. If Russell Wilson doesn't win the division, is that a bust? No, I think you kind of have to judge him based off of what he does in the postseason. I don't think it's about winning division titles for him. I think you kind of judge him off of what he does in the postseason. As long as we don't pick up Jameis Winston, I'm good. And no Baker either. Hey, Unc, what's going on, Unc? Wow, Watson a Falcon with no wide receivers and didn't want to play with DK and Lockett. Yeah, I think it's also because he didn't want to play for a Pete Carroll. You know, he has so much autonomy over the offense, over the team. And Russ, you know, that's one of the reasons why he didn't see eye to eye with Pete. I didn't think I didn't think Deshaun was going to see eye to eye with Pete either. So I think that's kind of where it stems from. I don't believe anything coming out of anyone's mouths anymore. I wait until I see it with my eyes and hear it with my ears. Agreed, Lori. Great point. I've always liked Drew Lock. What about you, Steez? Yeah, so before I go, I'm going to just spend a couple more minutes on this topic. I like his arm. You know, he has a massive arm. He looks like a quarterback. He's big. But aside from that, I don't know if there's too much else to work with. He is athletic. I think he's, you know, a better scrambler than people would like to give him credit for. He's very inaccurate. I think when he's pressured and under pressure, and I know a lot of quarterbacks don't look good when they're under pressure, but he's actually one of the worst quarterbacks in football under pressure. And so he definitely has to work on that. Definitely has to work on being more accurate. But I think he just deserves a second shot. I mean, like these guys said, maybe a change of scenery might do him some justice. So we'll see what happens there. I think that we won't really know until we see what he looks like in the preseason or what he looks like come training camp, you know, when he's competing and all that. So we'll see what happens. We are also rebuilding too, and we don't have a good track record the last few years. Yeah, I mean, I think a silver lining to Drew Lock potentially starting and messing things up as far as the win column, we're going to get a top pick in next year's draft. And if Seattle is indeed rebuilding, which is what it looks like, at least for the time being and temporarily, then a high draft pick in next year's draft class that is supposed to be loaded with quarterbacks, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Do you think Gino or Drew has a better shot at starting? Brandon Voorhees, I'm sorry if I pronounced your last name wrong, but thank you for tuning in and dropping the question. I think right now, Gino would have a better shot at starting because he's the one who has experience in the system. Pete alluded to that in his press conference. And so he's been the guy that's sat behind a Russell Wilson. He knows the system. He knows the ins and the outs. He has the chemistry down with the DK, with the Lockett, with the offensive line, with the offensive coaching staff. But I think that as Drew continues to put in the reps and continues to work with those receivers, then yeah, I think maybe Drew Lock has a chance to overtake a Gino at some point. It will affect who wants to come here and who doesn't. Well, if we're rebuilding this year, I don't think it really matters if we're really bringing anyone in this year. And Jose is talking about Watson to Atlanta. Hold on. Give me just a second, guys. I had to see this for myself. Hold on. Okay, yeah. Hey, I just saw your comment. Who said that? Let me see. Sorry on the stairs, Team Steezy. Matty Ice JPA posted Watson to Atlanta, so don't go crazy looking for Steezy. Bro, yeah, I've been on Google. I'm on all these different search engines and I can't find it. And so, wow, okay. I know it's not our biggest need, but Chris Olave in the second round, a pair with DK on the outside and Lockett in the slot. I think that would work wonders for whoever we have at quarterback, whether that's Drew Lock, whether that's a Geno Smith, whether that's a rookie in next year's draft. I think that would be phenomenal. DJ Reed said he felt disrespected by Seattle because of how much they offered him. Can't believe we didn't offer him more. Yeah, we probably offered him under 10 mil. No, in Seattle. Okay, guys. Hey, for everybody that tuned in, thank you so much for taking the time for joining us. I just want to say, if you guys aren't already, please definitely hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 4K right now. If you aren't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe. Share this live stream with your friends and your family. Don't forget to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell another friend, tell your dog, whoever. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining me and talking some Seahawks football. If you guys have any sort of suggestions for the next live stream, for the next show, any sort of topics that you want me to cover, anything specific at all, send me a DM, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter. I've been working diligently to increase my following on there as well. So Instagram and Twitter, both at Steezy A Smith, SteezyASmith. Let me just remove this real quick. Down over there, right there, at Steezy A Smith. Again, if you aren't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe. Lori, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for taking the time. G3 Buzz, hey, peace out, bro. Thank you. Great stream, brother. Hey, thank you so much, my brother. Thank you. Donnie Pearson, thank you, Cal. Hey, happy St. Patrick's Day, yo. Happy St. Patrick's Day, though, y'all. I hope you guys enjoyed today. Be safe, be responsible, and if you don't celebrate it, then this message ain't for you. I hope you guys have a great rest of your days, though. I will be back, hopefully on a live. If not tomorrow, then this weekend. So definitely be sure to stay tuned for that. Make sure to turn that bell on, man. To make sure that all your post notifications are on whenever I post live streams and whatnot. And Chief, I know you're over there in Atlanta, so I hope you have a great evening, bro. And if Deshaun Watson is going to Atlanta, then I'm happy for you guys over there in Atlanta, and I hope you guys welcome him home with open arms. He deserves it, and I believe he's innocent. So we'll see what happens, though, y'all. Hope you guys have a great day. All glory to God, and Steezy out. Again, this video is going to be dedicated to Mr. Todd Nas. While that concludes this video, we have loads of other content. You don't have to stop watching there. Other content on our channel homepage, as well as our social